Taken. He wanted a cure. He found the Creator.
Chapter 30, Part A. The next days were sweet, glorious, and bitter. Every time Enoch went to seek the hidden father, Methuselah had always asked if he could come. "You might get hurt. What if you get lost? You must be quiet for long spells to hear the voice. You'll get bored." Enoch had always said, "Not this time, next time." Enoch woke Methuselah up before first light. "Come, son, let's go." "What?" He rubbed his eyes. "Where? Something wrong?" "We're going to Avalan Forest." Enoch tossed him a sack. "Who, me? Now?" Methuselah was sleepy but delighted. "Yes, you." Enoch grinned. "Not so loud. You'll wake your mother." Methuselah nodded, moving like a whirlwind, grabbing and tossing stuff inside. Enoch loved to watch him move. Quiet and sure, more agile than he ever was. Dina rolled over, mumbling as she pulled Danny close to her side. She never let him out of her sight these days. His sons folded their arms, holding their little wooden staffs across their chests, snoring, just like Papa. His daughters slumbered in their quarters, beautiful even in sleep. Enoch stared at them a long while, memorizing every feature. "Ready?" Methuselah whispered, giving him a silent salute. "Methu?" "Yes, Papa." "I should have done this a long time ago." "It's okay, Papa." Methu was already out the door and halfway down the trail. They made it to Ovenland with record speed. The boy is fast, too. He's a better runner than me, but what about? "You up for a challenge?" Enoch asked once they set up camp. "I'm a Neshpanel, am I not?" Methu said. "We shall see," Enoch said. Every son's birth he put his son to the test. Tracking, calling, naming, stargazing, climbing, hunting, tail-bearing, and now fishing. Methu was capable and pleasant, too. He had never had a better friend than his son. Why did I wait so long? "Methu?" "Yes, Papa." "That eve at the tower, when you went into the fire and—" Methuselah reared back as he cast his line far into the lake. "I'm proud of you." "Just trying to be like you," he said. "Actually, better than you." He hauled a massive bass from the stream, longer than his arm. "Can you top that?" "No," Enoch grabbed his catch, "but I can cook it." Enoch pored over his scrolls with Methuselah, passing along everything Adam had taught him. Some things only by ear as Adam instructed. "Papa, we've gone over this 1,000 times. Methu tapped his brain. "It's all right here, safe and sound." "I know, son," Enoch said, "but I need it to be all here." Passed him a stone tablet. "Write it for others to understand. Promise?" Methuselah promised. This was their routine. The days were sweet. Each night there was a new encounter with the beloved and sometimes his host. From the four corners of Adama its wonders were revealed to him. The source of the four winds bringing refreshing and judgment on the land. The mystery of the hoarfrost descending on the mountaintops. The bowels of the deep covering sin. The beloved answered every question but one. "Papa!" Enoch yanked the beautiful robe. "Yes, Enoch?" "Why now?" Enoch knew the beloved already understood his question, but he seemed to enjoy this process. "Why what?" The beloved played along. "I have been seeking you for many cycles," Enoch said, "and I often heard your voice, but never this." "Magnificent, isn't it?" In a flash they were standing on Mount Arata, enjoying the view. Enoch stumbled and caught his breath. "More like majestic or marvelous." Before Enoch could answer, they were sitting on two large rocks in the middle of a thunderous waterfall, tumbling around them from every side. "Enoch?" "Yes, Papa?" "I should have done this a long time ago." He often woke with the sensation of falling, dazed yet alert. The one mind was more tangible, not just a voice, not just a fire burning from within, but a person, ever present, all wise, helping him. When the one mind descended upon him, the golden aura illuminated his entire being. The days were glorious, but that last night was bitter. It came to him as a dream. Men falling from the sky like stars, wandered the earth, producing giants from their lust. These men of renown became pernicious and cruel, devouring beasts, men, and all they produced. All men fell under their spell, bowing to worship, doomed to hell. Twice dead, these giants foamed up shame until great waters destroyed them, and their fathers were bound in chains. The seas covered all, even to the mountain tops. None survived. All were lost. "Papa!" Enoch woke fitfully, sweating and exhausted. "Is there no hope?" He fell back to sleep, praying. Upon the dark seas a vessel of hope floated. A massive ark carried 8 souls and a remnant of creatures to a new beginning. A spectrum bowed from the heaven, resplendent with color, a sign of protection from judgment by water. Though the ancient evil conceived again, and the sons of Adam returned to sin, behold, the seed prevailed, becoming one with man. Then came the Beloved with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment on all the wicked and their wicked deeds which they commit in a wicked way, and of all the harsh things which the wicked say against him. Yet before that fiery judgment fell, a great mystery was revealed, a sudden catching, a sudden snatching, and millions disappeared. Chaos, panic, and utter dismay descended upon the masses who went astray, left in cruel darkness with just one hope: never bow to the evil, nor take his mark, not in the forehead, nor on the right hand. Images swerved in and out the dream, mingling with time and generations and time and hope and time, until finally the voice said, "Here is the interpretation and the words you must speak." Chapter 30. The Penalty and the Promise. Enoch and Yemezerek strode into the city of Nod, side by side. "Are you ready for this?" Yemezerek asked. "Ready as I'll ever be." Enoch was not looking forward to this visit. "Their banners are already high. Makes my task easier." "Can you handle this?" Delmar asked Azam. "I must. Beloved's orders." The elders of Cain assembled at El Tava. Yemezerek withdrew his bow. "I could escort." "I have to do this alone," Enoch said curtly. "Beloved's orders." "Stay with Enoch," Azam said. "I'll handle some Jaza." Yemezerek nodded. "May the Ancient One guide you and grant you peace." Enoch finished the blessing. "One can always hope," Yemezerek said. "I'm going to make the most of this opportunity, and who knows?" They split at the fork in the road. Yemezerek took the narrow way up the hill toward the settlement. Enoch found the broad path into El Tava, teeming with people. No one paid him any mind. They were too busy buying and selling to notice the hooded visitor in the plain cloak. He overheard a group of Sabasi toting water pots chattering by the well. "I wouldn't be caught dead with one of them watchers," one said. "It's all flowers and flattery till the baby come, then out with the rubbish. 'Tis a shame what happened to Worth being a divine, not even for the finest home in all Adama. Imagine your own father selling you." "Best watch your back," another Sabasi warned. "The wicked ones take whoever they please. Not even a proper ceremony, no promise other than to leave your family alone." "Horrible they is," the Sabasi whispered. "I'd go as you. These ain't the days to be pretty and sassy." "Aye, they go for the beauties and leave the plain folk alone." A troop of watchers on horseback galloped by, disrupting the Sabasi and toppling their tables. "Make way!" they shouted. "Make way for the sons of God!" Some Jaza brought up the rear, riding a white stallion. He lashed a whip at Enoch, barely missing him. Enoch clutched his staff. He'd seen enough. This was for Nema and all the others. The burning returned. The one mind descended upon him, strengthening him. "Do not hesitate," the voice said. "Hesitate," the voice said. Rows of carts lined both sides of the paved trail, all the way down to the base where the elders met at the pillars. Enoch rushed to the speaker's platform and cried out, "This time you have gone too far. Repent of your evil and—" "What's that, you fool?" Lamech shouted. "Is this about your little Danny? We heard your tower burned down with your boy in it, and your precious Alru ain't worth dust." Father Lamech's craggy face displayed every vengeful line. Does Danny need a healing? Admit it, Bera. Now you need us. My wives might work a deal if... Silence. Enoch's voice boomed so loud, even he was shocked. A fool's greed is his undoing. Semjaza, Lamech called. Make him show respect. Gladly, Semjaza said. Him first, you next. Semjaza blazed bright and charged the platform on his stallion, rearing back to strike Enoch with his whip. Make him beg. The watchers imitated the move, surrounding Enoch, blinding him with flashes of light, snapping their whips in the air. Be still shoulders and stood his ground. The lash came swirling toward Enoch. Suddenly, Semjaza's light dimmed. He toppled from his steed. Semjaza, former captain of Alpha Company, Azam shouted, unleashing his tether. It snapped with electricity as it wove around Semjaza's limbs and snuffed his light out. He writhed on the ground in pain. You are formally charged with treason. Where's that idiot Tubal Khan when you need him? Father Lamech grumbled. Don't let him get away with this. Seize him. He ordered his scouts, but none obeyed when Enoch right. New tricks, Bera. Lamech stumbled and fell to his knees, unable to move. The sight of Captain Semjaza crumpled before Enoch in submission shocked the watchers in league with him into silence. They dismounted their horses and fell prostrate, begging and pleading with groans and great travail. Enoch held out his scroll. Hear the word of the Lord, you sons of the Most High. I saw in my sleep what I now will relate with a tongue of flesh and with my breath, which the Great One has given to the mouth of men, that they might converse with it and understand it in their hearts, as he has created and given to men the power to understand the word of knowledge, thus also he has created me and given to me the power to upbraid the watchers, the sons of heaven. From now on you will not ascend into heaven to all eternity and upon the earth. It has been decreed that you shall be bound for all the days of the world. But before this you will have seen the destruction of your beloved children, and you will not be able to possess them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Petitions for them will not be granted unto you, nor Enoch rolled up his scroll and walked up the steps to El Tavah, passing the Elohim, who now lay prostrate along the rows, wailing. He stopped at the top step and sealed the decree. Hear the word of the Most High God. Repent. Judgment is coming. Terrible consequences. Yemezerek walked the city of Nod, going from dwelling to dwelling, warning any with light in their eyes, especially the Sabasi. The young Sabasi he'd spared from Semjaza's attentions ran toward him. Many pardons, Benai Yemezerek. I'm so afraid of them double-faced ones. Do you know of the strange whispers and shadows? What be they? Fallen, he said, making sure no one had followed the girl. He told her everything. From now on, leave your deliveries at the door, but do not enter. Warn the others. She nodded. Thank you, my lord. He smiled at the girl's response. If you run into trouble, he gave her a bottle of oil from his satchel. Pray. Yemezerek noticed the Sabasi were more apt to believe. The station granted them a readiness to receive instruction, not kick against it like the elders in Medici. Even when Yemezerek and Elohim himself revealed the truth, they refused to believe. He shook the dust off his feet after leaving those homes. Lightning flashed from El Tavah, crackling, followed by a thunder. Yemezerek's knees weakened. The ancient has spoken, but he could still move. I'm going to make the most of this opportunity, and who knows? He encouraged himself as he trudged back to his workshop. Yemezerek! Tubal Khan was waiting for him. I need your help, please. Tubal Khan dropped to his knees. Help, please. Tubal Khan dropped to his knees. Save Naima. You brought me back. You can bring her back. What is it you require? A sacrifice? He placed his head on the chopping block. Here, take my life. Tubal Khan wailed. Just save Naima. It was all my fault. Tubal Khan, I am not the Most High, while there is yet life in the blood. I'm sorry. Yemezrek pulled him to his feet. There is nothing I can do for Naaman now. But this is not your burden alone. I am to blame too. There was a moment when this could have been prevented. Instead of protecting, I allowed those entrusted to me to be deceived. I allowed you to be deceived. I could have told you the truth when I realized Samjaza was lying. At the ceremony of union, I didn't try to stop the Elohim. I didn't warn you. You are not the only one who hasn't done what you should. Tubal Khan seemed angry, sad, and weary as Yemezrek's words pricked his heart. He sighed. What now? We do what we can. Other moments may have passed, but this moment has not. Judgment is coming. I don't even know my own fate, but I will help as much as I can. Tubal Khan sent for Medici Yabasheth. She can be trusted. The three of them talked through the night, planning how to help the sons of Cain. Tubal Khan would teach the men, just those who could be trusted, how to craft weapons, concealing them until the time was right. Yemezrek shared all he knew about healing, transferring the virtue of the one mind, and speaking life over the injured with Yabasheth. Yabasheth grasped the basic principles of manual mending quickly. She could set a bone, reduce swelling, and stitch a wound enough to teach others. Hoped it was enough to offset the secrets of the dark way he knew Hazazel was teaching the divine. That set of incomplete knowledge stolen from the one mind by Lord El before his exile could perfectly mimic the force of the Ancient One's essence. For a time, the divine had no idea the power they were learning to pilfer would eventually destabilize and bring destruction to the user without the source, the beloved. Yemezrek peered out the window toward the dwellings of the divine. He shook his head as he thought of the incantations and mixtures they meddled in without understanding. Even the Elohim had difficulty comprehending the beloved and his relationship to the Father in one mind. All I know is that the beloved was already there in the beginning, and without him nothing was made, and somehow he is the word that holds all things together. When I become one with the beloved, I also become one with the Ancient One. Then I have access to the one mind. Mysterious indeed. Those closest in this communion access the greatest power, a love so consuming it has power even over death itself. Yemezrek threw more of the vials and pouches into the satchel. They clinked against one another with increasing frustration as he recalled his last effort. Last night he tried to tell Medici Yabasheth of this communion with the one mind, which would enable one to channel instantaneous mending with mere words spoken. If Jalal gets sick again, lay your hands on her, Yemezrek instructed, and pray to the Father. But I can't see the hidden Father, the Medici said, looking doubtful. It doesn't matter, Yemezrek said. If you talk to him always and seek his voice, he will answer. He doesn't talk to us anymore, Medici Yabasheth insisted. He has blessed us with herbs and a good mind. We must use them now. The bearer speaks to the hidden Father, Yemezrek said. The Ancient One healed his son, Danny. But that's the bearer. He's special. Medici Yabasheth kept pounding the herbs into a paste. He doesn't answer us common folk. If you're right with the Father, he will answer, Yemezrek said. But don't wait until you need something. It's best to pray all along. He is not to be commanded. He helps those ways. I'd best stick to my ointments and pastes, Yabasheth said. I know they work, and I can get more when they run out. Everything runs out except him. Yemezrek packed more of the paste into skins and loaded them onto her cart. If you have communion with the Father, you need not. Nothing is too hard for him. Just the same, I need something I can touch. Medici Yabasheth grabbed his hand and squeezed it. This is real. Maybe if the hidden Father came down here where I could see him, touch him, maybe then. Yemezrek sighed. The woman was too far removed from fellowship with the Ancient One to understand. The most she could grasp was exchange, the sacrifice of one thing for another. She knew if she made a sacrifice, the hidden Father would respond. So after hours of explaining and answering her questions to no avail, Yemezrek finally advised her to continue the practice of meeting the Most High at the altar whenever there was a need. knowing that temporary grace was better than none at all. One day they all would. The seed would see to that. He loaded the rest of his things. He only wished he had been sure of that knowledge in time to convince Samjaza of his error. Samjaza's childling was not the seed. It was something else. He scanned the scrolls containing the documentation required by the High Council and placed them in. There it was written by Samjaza's own hand. 3 TFs. Tainted females equals 1 DWB. Daughter without blemish. Rebellion, treason, and human trafficking. How low Samjaza had become. A glint of something shiny caught his attention on the floor in the corner. It was a small metal pen. 2 jewel-encrusted swords crossed in a flame sparkled brilliantly in the sun's rays. Samjaza had given it to him for outstanding service during the conflict against the Furious Ones. No one had been more loyal than Samjaza. That's why General Michael chose him to command the Watchers. Samjaza had rescued many in Elohim from the accuser's snare before the Great Rebellion. Knowing from the one mind filled his heart. Samjaza was blinded by past victories. Humility has spared you. Yemezrek placed the pen in his satchel. He touched his cheeks with surprise. Fine drops of water were flowing down them. I didn't know this could happen to an Elohim. He willed them to stop. I've had on this suit of flesh for too long. He made his way up the narrow path away from the dwellings. Chapter 31. Taken. Move in. Azam reached for his belt, feeling for the cords keeping his weapons in place. Delmar crept along the sandy bank of the Gahon, becoming a blend of earth, water, and sky. As he moved closer to his target, he stopped right behind the watcher they were ordered to bind. "Captain, no," Delmar whispered. "Do it, Lieutenant." "But sir," Delmar said a little too loudly. Anami was on his feet in an instant with bow raised. "All right, you, come out." "Drop it, Anami," Captain Azam said, and we can do this peaceably." "Oh, sorry, Captain. I heard the rustling and thought you were fallen, trying to—" "We be no fallen, though I wish I could say the same for you," Delmar said. "Why, Anami? Why did you do it?" "Do what? I have done no wrong. Don't add lies to your treachery. Hearing in the flesh. Submit to the restraints," Captain Azam said bitterly as he whipped out a tether from his robe. It crackled in the air. Its glowing tentacles reached for its prey. "But Captain, I didn't!" Anami brightened, turning every color in the spectrum as his aura shifted, throwing rainbow prisms across the dark waters. "Hold your peace, Azam. All is well," the voice said, hovering over the water. "My lord." Azam immediately bowed. Delmar followed suit. Anami was about to lay prostrate when a strong hand gripped him, holding him upright. "Rise." "Good men," holding him upright. "Rise." "Good men, you did receive orders to retrieve all watchers appearing in the flesh. But I see no flesh here, do you?" Azam and Delmar looked at Anami and back to the beloved, bewildered at the question. Azam was the first to speak. "But my lord," hesitantly, "his appearance is unlike the Elohim. It is unusual." "Unusual, yes, but is it flesh?" The beloved led Anami over to Azam, forcing him to face his captain. "Go ahead, touch him." Azam reached out and placed a firm hand on Anami's shoulder. It remained. Had he possessed a key, his spiritual form remains dominant. He is not to be bound. Captain Azam lowered his head. "My apology cannot overcome my error." "Azam," the beloved said as he lifted the captain's chin with a gentle hand, "do not be disappointed in your understanding. You are not judged for acting on a heart of loyalty. You were not meant to understand our intentions until now. Please, friends, be seated." "Most sorry, Anami," Delmar murmured as they sat around the smoldering ashes. Only the beloved remained standing. "Until now, you have served on this planet with veiled understanding. You knew you were to observe the humans and prevent unwarranted attacks by the fallen, but that was not the only reason for your presence here. While you were watching the humans, the High Council watching you. The beloved raised a hand to silence the questions he knew were forming in their minds. The Ancient One intends the council to learn our way, and thus we allow them to see the reasoning behind our rule. The council needed to be sure of one of the great laws, to see the beauty of its logic in full play. Your presence here opportunity and provided reassurance. Now those of the council commune fully with the one mind once more. All doubts raised by Lord L have been erased. "Most glad to be of service, my lord," Anami said hesitantly, as vibrant red tones flushed throughout him. He ignored the awkward shifting and asked the question he knew the others would not. "If you don't mind, what was the great law in question? Of course you would want to know that. This time I will share completely. However, there will be times when you may not understand our purposes, but after I explain this to you, I hope you will trust me even when those times occur, that I am working for your eternal good." The Elohim waited, eager as children, for the answer. The beloved smiled. After the great conflict, judgment was decreed for the Elohim who followed the accuser. We knew many of you did not understand the extremity of their punishment, even though you were loyal. There was still great hurt and confusion among the family. The unasked question, why, was ever present. Why was our way the only way? The Ancient Father and the One Mind, too, agreed. The question must be settled for complete healing and the second, why are the Elohim not granted freedom? In fact, the two questions are both based on misrepresentations of the former cherubim Lord El, whose seat on the council gave undue validity to his accusations. First of all, our way is not the only way. However, Elohim have always had freedom. The inability to choose is an instantaneous result of true intelligence. Yet in our unfathomable understanding, we have always known unrestrained freedom eventually becomes bondage. We had hoped that precept need not ever be proved. Now that our accuser Satan has initiated this sequence through his revolt in the outer realm and the subsequent rebellion he instigated on Adama, the precept is being tested even now. Yet, we knew the possibilities from the beginning and were prepared for such an occasion. The plan to restore the original sequence is in effect. When you, Elohim, selected as watchers, were sent to this planet, we knew you would be tempted by the humans. We knew this life form, so like you, but granted the one thing you are denied, the freedom to procreate, would be a source of confusion, just as we knew giving them every liberty of good and evil, which every Elohim accesses at will, would tempt them. Now here you both are, Elohim and human, intelligent, free, and tempted. How would you decide? Would you freely choose to restrain yourselves? And most importantly, when should lack of restraint be judged? When it is thought, or when it becomes action? Or if you will, must every unrestrained thought become sin? The council had to know. Beloved, I understand the council's curiosity, for I share it, but I still don't understand how we provided the answers, Delmar said. The beloved smiled and motioned toward Anami. Look at your comrade. His very aura signifies everything I have explained to you. Based on the original sequence, we knew he would feel special ties to the woman Tafara. My lord, so what I saw when I entered the gate at the Tree of Life was true? Anami asked. It is not exactly true at this point in the sequence. It is more of an alternate progression that may yet be reconciled. The beloved paused, knowing Anami was still confused, and decided to explain it this way. Anami, the new multitude of colors in your aura represent the conflicting since meeting Tafara. Yet you remain a spiritual being. You have not left your state, like Captain Samjaza, even though you too have wondered about the justness of my instructions and even the code itself. By your actions, Anami, the council knows the Elohim are truly free. You could have violated the code, and you did not. Likewise, Samjaza's choice to depart and the others with him confirmed it. They too had the freedom to choose. So it was proved. Lord El lied. The Elohim indeed were always free to choose, before the great conflict began and even now. Now the other accusation and the more important one, why is our way the only way, will be proved over many progressions and spans in the sequence. My lord, you have been most gracious in the sharing, but if I may ask, Azam paused, looking away from the beloved and back again. I was one of those who heeded Lord L. I listened to his talk of the deeper knowledge, and somehow I was spared. Among all the others who believed him, at least for a while, why was I spared? The beloved, always bright, suddenly appeared more radiant than ever. This new light still possessed his piercing clarity, which caused all the lords to tremble. Was more, it revealed all, but simultaneously understood all and forgave all. Dear Azam, you may have thought you succumbed to Lord L, but you did not. There was still a grain of trust in you that clung to me, even in your uncertainty, looking for Elohim with even the tiniest speck of faith. Whenever I found it, I rescued the one possessing it. All this time you thought you were the only one. Many were rescued, but unlike you, Azam, they do not admit the doubt was ever present. That is why you were selected for the mission to Adama and given a position of authority here. Though you were tested, you remained. Now you demonstrate an extraordinary capacity to lead your brethren with compassion. Your admission of your weakness has made you stronger. If it were possible for an Elohim to cry, Azam would have been said to weep at that moment. But since it was impossible for him to do so, everyone ignored the light which glistened outward from his cheeks in delicate waves of misty brilliance. Their mutual access of the one mind allowed them to experience Azam's joy as fully as if they were him. The beloved broke the communion, saying, This brings me to the real reason for my presence here today. Anami, please rise. Lieutenant Anami stood perplexed at the announcement, ever embarrassed by the telltale spectrum, fully exposing his fluctuations. The beloved laughed. You will get used to it, Captain. A scanning prism of the eyes widened. Captain? Yes, the council has agreed. After careful consideration and observation, you have been selected to lead a new company. The time of the Watchers has ended. The usefulness of that function has expired with Captain Samjaza's deceit. No longer will Elohim freely interact with the humans, for it alters their sequence to their detriment. I have decreed, and the council agrees, that the Elohim will serve as guardians to this life form, silent and unseen, yet powerful. The members of this new company will assist me directly in the restoration of the sequence. This role. Yes, my lord. Anami beamed with the solidarity of the purest white, a pearly hue more intense than his former aura had ever been. Then it wavered, fracturing into soft mauves, pinks, and oranges of a fading sunset. Beloved, there is one thing. You said we could never speak or interact with the humans again? That limitation is essential to the success of the new mission. I may never speak to her again? Anami looked at the girl, sound asleep in the midst of the spirits communing around her. Not without express permission. But what if she calls for me? She knows I have been helping her. Anami, humans do not have the permanence you experience as an eternal. Not in their current state. Her memory of you will fade with time, and she will continue in her destined progression, as will the others. In time, the children of those who knew the Elohim directly will distort their encounters with you. They will become as fanciful as tales told to sleepy children. In a few generations, you will be all but forgotten if it were not for the record left by those chosen to preserve it. I see, Anami sighed, and I understand. Is approaching. The beloved pointed to 3 men walking in the grasslands toward the Gihon. That looks like Enoch and his son Methuselah, Anami said. It is, the beloved said. But who is the other man? He's much larger. That's your Meadowlark, Delmar said. What is he doing in a suit of flesh? My lord, shall we bind him? No, Delmar, the beloved answered. Commander Delmar, you never waver. A special gift you will also need in your new role as a guardian. Enoch stepped into the clearing first, followed by Methuselah, who immediately walked to Tafara. Wake up! Wake up! He gently shook the sleeping girl. Father, she will not rise. Is she okay? Yemezrek, is there anything you can do? Yemezrek was lying prostrate on the ground. What's wrong with him? Methuselah asked. Nothing is wrong with him. Indeed, everything is right. Enoch smiled at the spirit men surrounding him and placed a hand on Methuselah's shoulder. The beloved lifted Yemezrek like a baby. Captain Azam, take Yemezrek to the gate at Mount Arata. Our brother is coming home. But he is so weak, Azam said. Go with haste. A spark remains. Right away. Captain Azam saluted as the two disappeared in a single point of light. Enoch grabbed his son, forcing him to leave the sleeping woman alone. Do not trouble yourself, son. Tafara is fine. The Ancient One merely gives her deep rest. When she wakes in the morning, you two return to the Seti and take this with you. Enoch pulled the scroll out of his pack and placed it in Methuselah's hand. What? How will you keep records without it? You never... Methuselah trailed off. You're going to seek the Hidden Father again, aren't you? Yes, Methuselah. Can I come? Some other time, Enoch said. But how will you record your visions without your scroll? Methuselah asked, trying to push the container back into Enoch's hands. He did a double take when he didn't see Yemezrek behind him any longer. The scroll dropped to the ground with a thud. Ho! What happened? Where's Yemezrek? Where did he go? Enoch gently placed the scroll back in his son's hands. Yemezrek returned. Good. You can keep it until we meet Father Jared in the... Enoch hugged his son fiercely and gave him a kiss on both cheeks. No, Methuselah. I am going home. Take care of your mother. It is up to you now. Enoch turned away and stood by the beloved. As he did so, Methuselah fell to his knees and shielded his eyes. The soft glow emanating from his father in recent days became blindingly bright, filling and consuming everything in its path. The earth rumbled, a beam of light appeared, and his father disappeared. But my lord, Anami recognized that light. He stared at Enoch, confused. Is not Enoch my assignment? No, Anami, the beloved said. Enoch will live out his days in heaven's realm. Guard his son Methuselah at all cost, for through him the seed is coming. But why does Enoch escape death? Adam's sin still rages in his blood. Heavendom will grant him permanence. Did you not say all who sinned would surely die? Anami's spectrum joined in the light of the beloved. His fluctuating colors danced in brilliant conflict with the golden sun. The beloved smiled with merriment and the hint of something new. Did I not tell you there were some things you could not know? At least not yet. Anami saluted, standing guard over Methuselah and Tafara. Enoch forgot all about the Elohim, Tafara, and even Methuselah as he examined the beam of light. It was liquid, solid, and vapor all at once. How does it work? Enoch waved his hand through the substance. He poked it. Something gripped his hand. Enoch jumped back, even more startled when it seemed to laugh. The beloved grinned. It's not made of anything you can see or control with your hands. Where did it come from? The way home has always been here. Enoch marveled. As soon as he spoke the words, rails appeared. Gleaming golden planks formed into the heavens. A vessel bounded down its tracks, heading straight for him, horns sounding louder and louder, roaring like thunder. Steam puffed from it, filling the air with smoke thick as a cloud. Wheels within wheels screeched to a halt, sending bolts of lightning in every direction. Methuselah covered his ears, kneeling and trembling, looking at the sky. Can he see it too? Enoch waved his hand in front of his son's eyes. Not yet, the beloved said. It's made of faith, and without faith no man can see it. The beloved stood by the portal. After you? Enoch walked by faith, running his hand over the sparkling surface. Glittering steps formed around his feet as he traveled forward. They entered the massive cabin. An aisle appeared with cushioned seats on each side as far as the eye could see. It's huge. There's plenty of room for all who believe. But it's empty. Enoch ran his hands across the rails, skipping up and down the aisles, jumping on the bouncy seats. Light followed him, chasing him, playing tag. Am I the only one? Not for brushed against the vessel in waves, sending music tumbling into the cabin, carefree and jubilant. Enoch pressed his face against the panel, eager to start the journey. He settled into the cushioned seat, glad the ruby fabric didn't vanish beneath his touch, and gripped the golden rails until his knuckles appeared white. The dark expanse teemed with life. It swirled together in great systems, organizing, expanding, contracting, exploding. Surprised? The voice echoed through the chamber. Enoch nodded. Regrets? Enoch shook his head and laughed at himself, a grown man crying. Grateful tears blurred his vision as he strained to take in the view. He couldn't shut his eyes. Not now. Not. Epilogue. Adam paced back and forth, crushing the resplendent turf between his toes. He tried to focus on plucking the stray blooms from the flowering bush. He looked over his shoulder down the path leading to, No, I will not go. What good can come of it? But even as the thoughts battled against his heart, his feet found the familiar trail, and he was already halfway there. Perhaps it may be different this time. Adam shook his head, tossing aside the thoughts of his children waiting for him at the living lake in the heart of paradise. He pushed back his concern, knowing Abel would take care of the preparations. I will only stay a moment, just long enough to... Adam slowed as he approached the edge of the cloudy precipice he knew would clear the instant his hands touched it, allowing him a panoramic view of all Sheol. I just need to see if... Adam was stunned. He ignored the tattered, burned forms clawing up the edge of the cliff and focused his keen gaze toward the gate. His hand pressed over his heart as he squinted at the long-haired figure being dragged across the stone floor. Every day he came here hoping he would not see anyone, at least not anyone new. Adam sunk to the floor, hopeless. Another child had come, had died, had lost. He remembered the day Naamah was born, almost the very image of his eldest daughter Awan, yet more beautiful. He stared after her, watching the torment that would never end begin. Adam? Adam jumped at the voice calling him, calling through him. He stood slowly and prepared to bow. My lord, Adam said. Fresh tears filled his eyes. Look away. My lord, Adam's voice was quiet and hoarse. Is there nothing I can do? The beloved shook his head. Come with me. Adam followed the beloved away from the precipice. But my lord, can you? Will you let her come to this place? The beloved shook his head again. I could give a sacrifice for her. Would that not cover? No, Adam, the beloved said. That intention would be for not hers. Besides, the girl is not dead. What? But how? How can she be in Sheol unless her flesh had perished? There is a window of opportunity, a span of 3 sun sleeps before all life force has faded, and Satan has enticed one of yours to take advantage of it. A window? Yes. This thing the fallen have planned will bring great sorrow to your offspring. I came to warn you, do not go to the edge. It will only bring you heartache. But why, my lord? Many more will go to that place, the beloved said, pausing to lay a hand on his shoulder. But remember the prophecy and keep your hope. Seed is coming. Who, my lord? Which child is it? When will they? The beloved laughed. Do not worry. Your child Methuselah will do his part. What is it he must? The words fell away with the sight of the beloved disappearing. Adam sighed. Methuselah it is, then. Adam remembered what the child when he was born and brightened. Yes, Methuselah. And then the end shall come. The seed must be Methuselah. His name says it all. He will end this suffering. The thought of all this ending cheered him. Adam ran toward the living lake to tell the others. Methuselah bolted upright, drenched in sweat. He swung around, looking wildly at the woods around him. He clasped the scroll under his covering and exhaled. Good, it is here, it's safe. It was the dream again. Methuselah fell back onto his cushion beneath the makeshift tent and tried to recall it. It always began the same. He could see her in the distance, a woman, Tall, beautiful, long dark hair flowing. Then he heard the screams. People screaming, crying, and they kept reaching for him, calling to him. And then the water. No, was it fire? Then the fire. She was also screaming, crying out. Methuselah started running toward the woman. This time the dream was different. In the other dreams, he had never been able to see the woman. This time he could. It was Naamah. He was sure of it. He'd been hearing rumors, dark tales of something strange and powerful in the city of. Methuselah began tossing his belongings in the sack. He thought of his father, Enoch. He knew what he must do. It's what Papa would have done. Methuselah ignored the trembling dread in his stomach as the fiery heat in his gut took over. If I leave now, I can make it before son's birth. If something is awry, the tribe must know of it. Good, Anami said, nodding to Delmar and Azam. He heard me. On to the city of Nod. This concludes chapters 26 through 29 of Taken, a metaphysical fantasy novel. If you enjoyed this excerpt,